Hi there, welcome back to our channel. Today in this video I'm going to go over, I get a lot of people asking me about comb attachments and blades. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons of both and explain to you which ones you should choose for your dog. In my 15 years of grooming, I have my go-to blades and my go-to comb attachments. So I'm going to explain that to you in detail. So stay tuned and keep on watching. So what I've done here, which I thought would be a little clearer to explain, is I've put out all the attachment combs and written down the actual length that the hair's left at. And then I've put the equivalent or as close to equivalent blade that would cut to that attachment comb. Underneath an attachment comb, I always use a 30 blade. You have to be aware that sometimes because these are metal attachment combs, it can break the teeth on the 30 blades. You can see that right there. Those two teeth are broken. So this blade, I still use it under my attachment combs, but obviously there's going to be a little bit of a gap. But when you're grooming the dogs with an attachment comb, you go over them multiple times. So it's not an issue because blades are expensive. So you want to keep on using it, but you just have to make sure you don't use this blade again in the pads of feet or anything because it can nick them because that little blade is missing. So, and then this blade is a brand new one, which is fine for either underneath the attachment comb or in the pads of their feet. I always do the pads of the feet first before I put it on the attachment comb because the blade can get hot when you're using the attachment comb and you don't want to use a hot blade in the pads of their feet. So my go-to blades that I use the most, especially in the summer, are a 5F and a 4F when people want their dogs short. If you want to use an attachment comb, this attachment comb would go the shortest. There's one that's shorter, but I never use it because if you're going to that length, you may as well just use a 5F. But this one here would be equivalent to a 4F or a couple millimeters more. So a 4F cuts at 5/16 of an inch, and this little guy 3/8 of an inch. These are my two favorites that I use all the time. So this one is a 1/2 inch, which is equivalent to a 3F. A 3F blade is a lot harder to get really even. So I find that using an attachment comb just keeps the coat looking a lot fluffier and a lot more even than a blade, especially if someone at home's doing it and they don't have the experience with blades. An attachment comb just gives you a more even look. So I highly recommend, and again, the coat has to be completely 100% dematted to use an attachment comb, but these are also safer on a dog than using a blade because blades you do have the possibility of nicking their skin, whereas with an attachment comb, there's a lot more forgiveness with that. And this one is another one that I like to use a lot as well.
We just wanted to emphasize again the importance in ensuring that your dog is completely dematted before you use an attachment comb. And we made a full video on how to properly brush your dog, so I'll leave it in the card above if you want to check that out. Okay, let's get back into the video.
Another quick hint too, if you really suck at fractions like I do, and I'm not kidding you, I'm really bad. So I've written them all out there, but an easy way just to visually see how long the hair is going to be, if you turn the attachment comb on its side, you'll see that that's approximately 1 inch, and that's how long the hair will be left. So if you take a look at all of those, you'll see that's 1/2 inch. That's about 1/2 inch. It actually looks a little bit shorter than 1/2 inch, maybe not. And this one and this one are my most commonly used, 5/8 of an inch. So that's another way of quickly looking at what length you want, just to give you a good idea. Now, a lot of people want their dogs left long, and there aren't blade attachments that can actually leave people's dogs left as long as they want them to. Theoretically, most of the time, they can't be left as long as people want them to be because they're just way too matted. And when they're matted, like I said before, you can't use attachment combs. So this is my go-to attachment comb, which leaves the coat about 1 inch long. If someone wants their dog left long, I consider this one very long. There's other attachment combs you can get that are plastic that can leave the coat longer, but I don't find that it really leaves an even look. So you have to do a lot of scissoring after. And at home, it's too much work for someone at home to do that. And these two I use, but if I'm going this length, I generally just go to the longer one. You also have to watch too that because these are metal and they're clanging against metal blades, you can also break the blade on the attachment comb. You can still use it, but again, it's just like this, the tooth missing on a blade, it just leaves a gap, but you have to go over and over the coat to get an even look anyhow. So as far as cost goes, blade attachments, you can purchase this entire set for, I think there's 7 in total, for about $40. But if you happen to be using the same one over and over, you don't have to invest that much money. You can just go and buy these individually, and they range from $5 to $7 for one attachment comb. Versus buying blades individually, blades can get very expensive, and then they have to be sharpened constantly as well. So a blade can range anywhere from $30 to $40 depending on which blade you're purchasing. The longer the blades, usually they're more expensive. And with the attachment combs, you only have to purchase one blade. So you would invest in the one blade cost and then even just one attachment comb. And then you don't have to keep buying blades over and over again for different lengths. You just keep the 30 blade underneath, and then you have the variety of different lengths in the attachment combs. Also, the colors, when you purchase the whole set, the colors are length determined by what length they are. So they're color coded, and I've written it out here: 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 5/8 of an inch, and same with down here. So if you get to know what color with what length you like. So I'm just going to go over how you attach the blade and the attachment comb onto your clipper. So you just take, the blade's got a little spot underneath it there that this metal disc, it's not really a disc, slips into. So you just slip that into that, and then off you go. Then I usually just turn the clipper on to make sure that it's secure. And then once you know that's secure, you take your attachment comb. The attachment comb's got 2 little metal lips at the end of it, and that attaches onto the bottom part of your blade, so it's secure. And then you tug it up because there's little springs in there. You pull it up, you can see me pulling it, and then it just flips over on top of the blade, and there you go. It's pretty simple. And then when you take it off, again, you just have to be gentle that you're not ripping it off. You're actually lifting it up so you can see that gap, and then pulling it over the blade, and then lifting it down. And then once you want the blade off, you push that black button in and flip the blade up. And then if this ever gets knocked down, I usually just take like a flat screwdriver or something and flip it back up again. But you try to avoid that. Don't mind the hair in my clipper. And that's it. It's pretty basic. So that's it. Most clippers come with a 10 blade. Some people use a 10 blade underneath the attachment combs. I find that I get a much smoother cut with a 30 blade, so you'll have to purchase a 30 blade as well. But if you're wanting to just try it out first, the 10 blade will come with most decent clippers. And even the cheaper clippers come with a blade. It's not a 10. Some of them are like you have to take an actual screwdriver and unscrew the blade, and then you just put attachment combs onto that particular blade. So buying a decent clipper, you will get a 10 blade with it. So what I'm going to do now is just so you can listen to what it's supposed to sound like, because sometimes if the blades aren't on correctly, you'll hear it. So I've slipped the blade on, This is what it should sound like. It's a smooth sound. And then when I put the attachment comb on, whoops, see, that's not on straight. And then when you look on the back side, you have to make sure that the clipper is right inside the two black lips on the side of and those can get broken too. Like I've had where the attachment combs fall on the ground and a chunk of this comes off and then it doesn't sit on the blade properly. And then it shatters all over the place when you turn it on. This should sound perfect. And it does. You can hear nothing except for basically the blade going back and forth, and there's no metal on metal sound. So that's what it should sound like. It's fairly smooth sounding. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative. And if you have any questions at all, I'm more than happy to help. Just comment below. And we'd appreciate a like and subscribe if you can do that at the same time. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.